African tradition and part of the university's calendar, and every academic who rises to the rank of professor is expected to deliver an inaugural lecture. This offers the university the opportunity to recognize and showcase the academic achievements of faculty, and also enables our professors to share their research with colleagues both inside and outside the university, and perhaps most importantly, to celebrate this important milestone with family and friends. It's my privilege to introduce the chairperson for today's inaugural lecture. Our chairperson is Professor Nana Appiah-Opong, the first female vice-chancellor of the University of Ghana. She's a professor of linguistics, an accomplished administrator, and brings over 2 decades of experience in the higher education sector. In the University of Ghana, she's held several key leadership positions. She has been the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, the founding Dean of the School of Languages, and also served as the head of the Department of Linguistics. As Vice Chancellor, she's championing the integration of technology across the university's operations while ensuring that the university's people remain at the heart of its mission. Professor Amfo has received numerous accolades for her contributions to education, leadership, and the empowerment of women. Most recently, a little over a week ago, she was named by the Association of African Universities as Ambassador for Gender Equity and Social Inclusion. She's a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences and an active member of several esteemed academic and professional organizations. She's the founding president of the African Humanities Association and president of the International Federation for Modern Languages and Literatures. She also serves as vice chair on the boards of both the African Research Universities Alliance, ARUA, and the Worldwide Universities Network, WUN. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome the chair for this evening's lecture, Professor Nana Appiah-Opong, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana.
Thank you, Madam Registrar, Pro-Vice Chancellors, Registrar, Provosts, Deans, Directors, Heads of Departments, our distinguished lecturer, Professor Regina Appiah-Opong, faculty staff and members of convocation, past and present senior officers of the university, alumni and students, family, friends, and associates of the lecturer, representatives from the health sector, esteemed traditional rulers, eminent clergy, friends from the media, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to preside over this evening's inaugural lecture to be delivered by one of our distinguished female scientists on this special day celebrated globally as Pan-African Women's Day, a day to recognize the vital role of women in achieving political freedom and advancing social and economic status across the continent. This lecture, which is the last in the series of inaugural lectures scheduled for this academic year, will be delivered by Professor Regina Appiah-Opong on the topic, the potential role of medicinal plants in Ghana's healthcare system and economy. Let us begin with this truth. Nature has always been our first pharmacy. For generations, our grandparents in rural settings and herbalists have treated ailments long before the advent of modern pharmaceuticals. Ghana is richly endowed with many plant species identified for medicinal use, yet this treasure trove remains underutilized, undervalued, and undersupported. The focus of this lecture is to envision a new path, a path that integrates our indigenous knowledge with modern science, a path that transforms what has been referred to as alternative into a respected structured, and thriving pillar of healthcare and economic growth. The World Health Organization estimates that nearly 80% of the population in developing countries rely on traditional medicine for primary health care. This is not simply a cultural preference, it is often a necessity. In Ghana, limited access to formal health care, high cost of pharmaceuticals, and a growing burden of chronic illnesses mean many people turn to herbal remedies as their first and sometimes only option. Despite the progress made in integrating conventional and herbal medicine practices in Ghana, challenges persist with the rational use of herbal medicines. These include standardization issues, regulatory hurdles, absence of preclinical scientific validation, and a lack of clinical trials. There is also lack of data on the shelf life of almost all herbal products. Another challenge is the classification of many herbal products as foods or dietary supplements, which is inappropriate. In this inaugural lecture, Professor Regina Appiah-Opong will discuss the effectiveness and safety of plant medicines and present research conducted at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research in collaboration with our partners. Challenges associated with integrating herbal medicines into the primary healthcare delivery system in Ghana will also be highlighted. Given that the global plant medicine industry is one of the fastest growing sectors worldwide, with a projected market value at 437 billion USD by 2030, the lecturer will explore the herbal medicine commerce in Ghana and recommend policy interventions that will enable the country to fully exploit the potential of medicinal plants for improved healthcare and national development. Before our distinguished lecturer mounts the podium, permit me to share with you her profile. Professor Regina Appiah-Opong, née Asarientwi, is a professor of toxicology at the Department of Clinical Pathology, Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research at the College of Health Sciences here at the University of Ghana. She has 33 years of working experience in biomedical sciences. She served as the head of the Department of Clinical Pathology at the Institute for 12 years. Professor Appiah-Opong began her primary education at the then University Primary School, University of Science and Technology, now Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi. She continued her education at St. Louis Secondary School, Kumasi, where she sat for her General Certificate of Education Ordinary Level examinations. She then attended Technology Secondary School, Kumasi, for GCE A-levels. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Biochemistry from KNUST and a Master of Philosophy degree in Biochemistry from University of Ghana. She later earned a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Molecular Toxicology from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Professor Appiah-Opong was posted to El Al-Zaria Islamic School, Tafo, Kumasi, for her post-advanced level national service, where she served as an English teacher for all classes. After her first degree program, she was posted to the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research here at UG for her national service, where she worked as a senior research assistant at the Department of Electron Microscopy. In April 1993, she was employed as a senior research assistant at the Department of Clinical Pathology. She rose through the ranks by dint of hard work to become chief research assistant. In 2009, she was employed as a research fellow in the same department. Subsequently, she was promoted to the rank of senior research fellow in 2012 Associate Professor in 2015, and Professor in 2020. During her one-year sabbatical leave in 2023 to 2024, she served as an adjunct professor at the Department of Biomedical Sciences, School of Basic and Biomedical Sciences, University of Health and Allied Sciences in Hull. After her sabbatical, she was appointed as an adjunct professor in the same department and school. Professor Regina Appiah-Opong participated in a 6-month training program at the National Institute for Infectious Diseases in Tokyo, Japan, with the support of the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, JICA. During this period, she gained advanced skills in molecular biology. She also underwent postdoctoral training at the Department of Pharmacology, Yale Medical School, Connecticut, in the US, spending 2 months each year at that institute. At Yale University, she acquired expertise in the biological and chemical fingerprinting of medicinal plants, which she later applied to the studies on selected Ghanaian medicinal plants. This work led to the filing of a provisional patent. Professor Appiah-Opong possesses extensive expertise in various areas of toxicology and pharmacology. Her research work has primarily focused on cytochrome P450 mediated drug interactions, the safety and efficacy of medicinal plants, particularly in the context of drug discovery, the impact of environmental toxins such as aflatoxins and heavy metals, and cytochrome P450 pharmacogenetics. In drug discovery, her research has centered on anti-cancer and anti-malarial agents. She has also been involved in drug discovery studies targeting anti-trypanosomal, anti-leishmanial, and anti-tuberculosis agents. While at NIID in Japan and later in Ghana, she contributed to the construction of a DNA cassette vector used in drug susceptibility testing for anti-HIV therapies. She has served as principal investigator and co-investigator on numerous research projects. Professor Appiah-Opong has co-authored over 100 peer-reviewed journal articles and 5 book chapters. She's also a co-inventor on a United States or PCT international patent and a provisional patent filed, and she has a provisional patent filed in partnership with Yale University and University of Ghana. Professor Appiah-Opong's research has received funding support from a range of institutions, both within Ghana and abroad. She served as a principal investigator on a project funded by the Third World Academy of Sciences. She was a co-investigator on 2 cancer discovery projects supported by the University of Ghana Research Fund, PI on a study to investigate environmental exposure to heavy metals, and co-investigator on a project that examined consumer perception, knowledge, and usage of functional foods. She collaborated with local and Japanese researchers on a project funded by the Japanese Ministry of Education, Science, and Technology to investigate antiviral and antiparasitic compounds derived from Ghanaian medicinal plants. She was also a co-investigator on a project funded by the Worldwide Universities Network, which aimed to develop African-led solutions to African health challenges. Currently, she is a co-investigator on the HIV comorbidities research training and mentorship in Ghana, funded by the National Institutes of Health. In addition to her research, Professor Regina Appiah-Opong has served as a part-time lecturer at the Department of Biochemistry, Cell and Molecular Biology here at UG since 2012. Over the years, she has supervised several research projects at the BSc, MPhil, and PhD levels for students from UG, KNUST, UDS, UCC, UHAS, and other international institutions. Professor Appiah-Opong has also supervised research work of 4 international postdoctoral fellows on the Bill and Melinda Gates Scholarship. She continues to serve as a mentor to several students and some faculty members. Professor Appiah-Opong is a member of several professional associations, including the West African Network of Natural Products Research Scientists and the Ghana Science Association. She was inducted into the fellowship of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences in 2021. She's also held memberships in international professional bodies, including the British Toxicology Society, the Leiden Amsterdam Center for Drug Research, and the Royal Dutch Chemical Association. Professor Appiah-Opong served on numerous boards and committees within and outside of UG. At UG, she served as a member of the University Academic Board since 2010 and the Scientific and Technical Committee of the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. She currently serves as an Associate Editor-in-Chief of the Health Sciences Investigations Journal of the College of Health Sciences, a position she has held since 2019. She's a board member of the Research Academy for Women, Ghana, program reviewer for the Ghana National Accreditation Board, and a member of the Technical Working Group, Traditional and Alternative Medicine Directorate, Ministry of Health. And she served on very many committees within the university and has also served as internal and external examiner for a number of theses here at UG and other universities in Ghana. Professor Appiah-Opong has maintained active research collaborations locally and internationally. Within UG, she has partnered with several academic units. Beyond UG, her collaborations extend to institutions such as the Center for Plant Medicine Research, Mampong, Ikuapem, KNUST, UDS, UCC, and UHAS. Internationally, Professor Appiah-Opong collaborates with researchers from Yale University, the University of Washington in Seattle, USA, the Mayo Clinic, Nagasaki International University, Tokyo Dental and Medical University, and Tianjin University for Traditional Chinese Medicine. Professor Appiah-Opong was born into the Presbyterian Church. She worships at the Legon Interdenominational Church, Legon, where she currently serves as the presiding elder. She loves evangelism and disciplining others into Christ-likeness. Professor Regina Appiah-Opong was born to the late Bafo Nyampong Entry Buesiako, Nkoswahini of Begro, Fantiakwa, in the Eastern region, otherwise known as Mr. John Asari Entry. Was a former teacher and sports coach at KNUST. Her mother, Mrs. Faustina Comfort Entry, is a retired teacher who hails from Asamama in the Eastern region. She's married to Kenneth Appiah-Opong, a retired geodetic engineer, and they are blessed with 2 daughters, Dorcas and Lois, and 2 grandsons. In her free time, she enjoys reading and swimming. Her team won bronze medals for Ghana by swimming in a West African swimming relay competition held at KNUST in the early 1980s. Professor Regina Appiah-Opong, you're now invited to present your lecture on the topic, the potential role of medicinal plants in Ghana's healthcare system and economy. Enjoy the lecture. Thank you.
Amafwe! Amafwe! Munju say yay, Amafwe! Lebo akrotre ni akwemu. Chidom ni ankobia. From dom ni okuhini say, Obamatinasi yo. Yo ya adie fatano. Unya honswa, anasobra hoa, ene unya hon. Obefo, Regina Appiah-Opong, toxicologist. Ewo, Noguchi Memorial Institute. Eneshema yeshemi, yebebetie unjuma pa, wayama University of Ghana. Any on my money na. Obefo, kika unsampen bigu yasum, nebeti na supemu. Obefo, sorry na nante. Nante brebre. Nante brebre. 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 Okudonto.
Thank you very much. Madam VC, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellors, Registrar, Provost of the College of Health Sciences, other provosts present, the Director of Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, other directors and deans present. I see here the President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences and fellows of the Academy. Reverend ministers, heads of departments, special guests, members of the Ghana Science Association, my family members, colleagues, friends, students, friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all. Oh, I wanted a response. A very good evening to you all. Great. Okay. So you're all very welcome to this lecture. I'm not getting the online, those who are online indeed. My mother is also online, siblings out there, they are all online. You are all very welcome. Mommy, your work has paid off. You and Daddy, the sacrifices have paid off. I want to say a big thank you to you. I salute you. I thank God for how far He has brought me in my career. And I thank you, Vice Chancellor, members of the senior management, for the opportunity to briefly discuss my journey as a research scientist. Now my journey. From about class 3 up to my early years in secondary school, my essays, I would always write that I wanted to be a lawyer. I grew up. I always wrote that. And I'm not quite sure what informed that, but I suspect that my childhood friend, one of my childhood friends, Aman Sachum, who passed unfortunately quite early, his father was a lawyer. And probably hearing from her about the father and seeing her father, probably inspired that. However, when I went to St. Louis Secondary School, I was told that good students at mathematics were allowed to read science, and I wanted to be recognized as a good student. So I took math very seriously, especially during vacations. I would go to the bookshop and buy a book and practice until I got good at math, and I made it to the science class. When I got to the university, applying to the university, I applied to the Department of Biochemistry and then Faculty of Pharmacy. And then I prayed and I said, God, the first institution, the first place to pick me, that's where I'll go. Interestingly, biochemistry picked me. And soon after they picked me, I was told that School of Pharmacy had also picked me. And I said, well, the decision is made. I said the first. And observers were worried. But I had no regrets at all. And I can tell you that by providence and divine providence, I have the opportunity to research into areas of pharmacy, that's toxicology and pharmacology. And the Vice Chancellor, currently, I'm the Vice Chancellor's rep in the School of Trinity. I pray that by the end of this lecture, everyone who has listened to me will be convinced that medicinal plants have the potential role to enhance Ghana's healthcare system and are worth more than gold, which must be harnessed for national development and to contribute to the reduction of poverty in Ghana. Madam Chairperson, the title of my inaugural lecture is The Potential Role of Medicinal Plants in Ghana's Healthcare System and Economy. This evening, I will provide a brief history on medicinal plant use and the efforts to develop these medicines in Ghana. I'll briefly discuss research that I have carried out together with other staff of our department and other collaborators to assess the efficacy and safety of plant medicines. I'll also discuss challenges associated with the integration of plant medicines into the healthcare system and end with commercialization of medicinal plants. I will conclude and provide some recommendations as pointers for policy. The focus of my research is hinged on 3 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Goal 3, Goal 8, and Goal 9. Now, Goal 3 says good health and well-being. And then Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Goal 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. You may agree with me. Now, let's look at the history of plant medicine use at the end of it. Now, historical documents in the use of plant medicines can be found in the Bible. And so I brought you 3 quotes. Now, Ezekiel 47:12 says, "And on the banks, on both sides of the river, there will grow all kinds of trees for food. Their fruits will be for food, and their leaves for healing." And then Revelation 22:2 says that the tree of life with its 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruits each month, the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. And the last is from Isaiah, this is more of an application, says that, "Now Isaiah said, let them take a cake of figs and apply it to the ball that he may recover," when the king was unwell, and he said that. So we see that humans have used plant medicines from the beginning of their existence. In fact, dates far back. Plant medicines or herbal medicines are the most ancient form of medicines used around the world. It is a traditional cultural heritage of Ghana and reflects the ancient wisdom and knowledge passed down from our forefathers. Plant medicines are employed for diagnosis, prevention, and elimination of physical, mental, and social imbalances. These medicines play a significant role in the country's healthcare system, as about 80% of Ghanaians in the rural areas, as VC alluded to, depend on these for their healthcare needs. Are all these plant medicines safe? Are the dosages known? Can they cause beneficial or harmful herb-drug interactions when consumed with conventional or allopathic drugs? Can plant medicines have used over the centuries? They have been used over the centuries, and they have been assumed to be harmless. Because they have been used for a very long time, many assume that, oh, plant medicines are safe, they are harmless. But generally, the challenge with plant medicines is that with the safety. And that is a general challenge, a problem that we have with plant medicines. And once we overcome that problem, acceptance will be helpful. Now, the first president of the country, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's government made efforts to recognize and promote the work of traditional healers. And so the Ghana Psychic and Traditional Healers Association was set up in 1961. Also, there were institutions such as the Center for Plant Medicine Research. Now, it used to be CSPRM, but now CPMR, okay, have been set up. These were set up by the state later on for scientific research into local medicines. Also, there are institutions, associations, and instruments that have supported traditional medicine in Ghana. So these have all been helpful in the development of traditional medicine. And these include the Traditional and Alternative Medicine Directorate, TAMD, of the Ministry of Health, Food and Drug Authority, Traditional Medicine Practice Council, the Traditional Medicine, the Ghana Federation of Traditional Medicine Practitioners Association, that is GAFTRAM, and also the Ghana Association of Medical Herbalists. For the instruments, we have the Ghana Herbal Pharmacopoeia, and then the monograph of the medicinal plants of Ghana. And this is under revision, and because I am on the committee and I know that. Currently, 35 hospitals in Ghana are piloting integrative medicine under the Ghana Health Service of the Ministry of Health. The plant medicine industry is among the fastest growing sectors, as the Vice Chancellor said. Now, according to WHO, several developed countries have also started accepting and integrating traditional medicine into the healthcare system. Now, let's look at some of the research that we have done on efficacy and safety of these medicines. Now, I'll start with cancer because I've done a little bit more work on cancer. Let's talk a bit about cancer before we delve into, we look at the work that we have done. So what is cancer? So this is a disease in which some cells in the body, they continue to grow, they will not stop growing, and they grow, and this affects other parts of the body. So unlike normal cells, the cancer cells will not stop growing, and that is a problem. The cells will not stop growing. And when you have these cells growing, they form lumps, and the lumps are what we refer to as the tumors. So cancer can start from anywhere in the body, the breast, the lungs, anywhere in the body. But the name of that particular cancer is given by where it actually starts. So if it starts in the breast, it is breast cancer, and so on. So that is it. Now, there are cancer risk factors, which I believe most of us know, but let me go over them. So we have alcohol as one of the risk factors. And then we have excess body weight. We have genetics. I tell my students what mama gave you, maybe what dada gave you. And then we have sun, exposure to sunshine when it's too much. We have radiations. We have unhealthy foods. Age, you can't do much about that. And also tobacco smoking. So all of these are risk factors and more. But many cancers are preventable through healthy habits. Through healthy habits, smoking, no smoking, healthy diet, regular exercise, and so on, vaccines and all that. But some of the cancers can also be cured. The challenge with cancer therapy is that reporting is late. So early reporting is very useful in treatment. So other cancers that cannot even be treated, symptoms can be managed if they are reported. So I would like us to look, unfortunately, I see that you cannot see the figures too well, but I would like us to look a bit at some statistics in cancer cases, incidents, and deaths, and so on, to situate our discussion today. So this is coming from Globocan, a project of the International Agency for Research in Cancer, and this is of the WHO, it's a project of the WHO. And 20 million cases, this is the most recent report that I found. So this is for 2024, and the work was done in 2022. So 20 million cases, new cases, cancer new cases. And out of these new cases, if we focus on Africa, because we are in Africa, so if we focus on Africa, Africa had 5.9%. And this 5.9% is just about 1.2 million. Okay, if you calculate, you do the math. And for mortality, Africa is 7.6, and so this is about 0.67. Mortality, the global is 9.7, and we 0.67, and I think that is significant, and we should be concerned about that. Again, if we look at the 10 most common types of cancers, we look at the 10 most common types of cancers, we see lung cancer at the very top, and is followed by breast cancer, colorectal cancer, and so on and so on. And then when we come to the mortality, for mortality, we see lung cancer still takes that place. And then we have colorectal cancer, and liver cancer, and the female breast cancer, and so on and so forth. So on and so forth. We come to the male. For the male, we have the lung cancer leading, we have the prostate cancer being the next for incidence, and then we have the colorectal, and then the liver cancer follows, and then the rest go on. For mortality, again, for the male, the lung cancer is leading, followed by, closely by the liver cancer, colorectal, stomach, and before the prostate cancer. For female, the breast cancer is the one leading, followed by the lung, colorectal. And for mortality, again, breast cancer leading, followed by the lung, and the others coming. So we see, we focus on, we try to focus on the cancers that are very predominant as much as possible. So the first study that I would like to discuss with you, I'll be discussing just two for cancer. At the library, if you get to the BAM library and you scan, there's a lot more that you can read. But I will just, for this purpose of this lecture, I will discuss these two studies. So the first is the anti-cancer activity of Albizia zigea. Albizia zigea, the accounts call it okoro. Okoro. Now, it is a plant found in West Africa, and it's used to manage or treat tumors, depression, sleep problems, sore throat, anxiety, asthma, boils, leprosy, malaria, and other parasitic infections. Now, in Ghana, it's purported to have anti-cancer activity, but no scientific work had been done until we did our study. And as I said, the major challenges associated with treatment of cancer has to do with resistance to therapy. And we also have toxicities. Most anti-cancer agents are toxic. And so you cannot just take it as prophylaxis in most cases. And then also costs, they are expensive. Okay. And so it's always important to continue to research to find agents that are more efficacious, less toxic, and also less expensive for our own people. So we investigated the anti-leukemic, anti-prostate cancer, anti-breast cancer activities of Albizia zigea, okoro. So I know some of you will never come to our lab, so I brought a bit of the lab to you. So usually we harvest the plants, and then we air dry them. We pulverize or we grind, and then we prepare the extracts. We culture our cells and we treat them. We grow our cells, and then we put the extract on to see how it's going to affect them. So that is just what I've shown on this slide. So to some results, I'll try to explain to you a little bit. So for anti-cancer agents, according to the National Cancer Institute, if the activity is less than 20, also say abomagwechu, so whichever you know. So they have these balls underneath it, and then Carica papaya, a pawpaw, or brofre, which we all know. And so we determine the anti-prostate cancer activity of we just took the leaves. Now, Moringa oleifera is used to treat swellings, genitourinary ailments, hypertension, malaria, and diseases of the skin, arthritis, and diabetes. And Philanthus amaris is used to treat liver, kidney problems, and also conditions of like other conditions, like diabetes and so on, and other infections. The Carica papaya is used to treat fever, gastric digestion problems, burns, maybe dysentery, asthma, inflammation, and aspergillus. People know that. So let's look at some results. Before we go here, I would like to talk a little bit about the cell lines that were used. So the link-up cell, I talked to you about the first experiment. I didn't explain much, but I intend to do that now. So the link-up cells have been used for a very long time in research, okay, to test for prostate cancer activity and so on. And these cells usually represent the early stage of prostate cancer. And so we use 2 cell lines, prostate cancer cell lines, for this particular experiment. We use the link-up and we use the PC3. Now the PC3 it represents the late stage prostate cancer, the aggressive form. So these are the 2 that were used for this experiment. And we used 5 solvents. We used water, as I said. Herbalists will use water, so you always use water, put water in there. And then we have the ethanol, we have the dichloromethane, we have the petroleum ether, and then we have the ethyl acetate extracts. So we paired all of these. I am showing you only the results for the aqueous extract because it's a lot of data. You can read further from the papers. It has been published. Because the aqueous extract had the most interesting activity. Now, the Philanthus amaris extract showed in PC3, that is the late stage and aggressive, showed promising activity with good selectivity, that's 5.9. Moringa oleifera also, but lower, of course, than the aqueous, the Philanthus amaris. And Carica papaya had quite similar to Philanthus amaris, but generally much stronger. Now, it was quite interesting that the Carica papaya also had greater selectivity. The selectivity index was stronger in Carica papaya, or higher in Carica papaya than the other 2. In link-up, we see quite a similar trend. We see the Philanthus amaris is effective against the link-up, and then also Carica papaya against the link-up. And then the selectivity also, Carica papaya had a stronger selectivity than, or Pawpaw had a stronger, leaves had a stronger selectivity than the other 2. And so we conclude that our results are showing generally that the extracts inhibited growth of both types of prostate cancer cells. And the aqueous extracts of the plants had also activity, selectivity. The Carica papaya had a greater selectivity, or better selectivity than the 2, as I mentioned. And so these findings, what we're going to do is to ensure that we move them on. We want to find out, are there any compounds in there that are responsible for these activities? There are times where you want to get a compound out and you lose everything. And so you just have to make a formulation and move ahead. And then you test it for safety. This has also been published, so you can read further. So I want to move on quickly to malaria. Malaria is also a very critical, very important disease in our sub-region. It is a blood parasitic disease caused by various parasites known as Plasmodium species. The predominant one is a Plasmodium falciparum and vivax, these 2. The disease spreads to humans through the bites of infected mosquito, the female, and obviously you can see a mosquito there, very full with plenty of blood, of course, definitely from a host. Now, malaria affects about half of the world's population, and the sub-Saharan Africa is the most affected. WHO's 2024 World Malaria Report shows a rise in malaria cases compared to the previous year. That's about 11 million, and that is very significant. The burden of the disease and mortality is disproportionately high in low-income countries like ours. Now, malaria poses the greatest threat to children, with about 76% of deaths occurring in children under 5 years. And this has been since the year 2000, unfortunately. And Ghana has made significant efforts to control malaria, with reduction, this is information that I got from a website, of deaths from 2,799 in 2012 to 1,151 in 2022. And so a drop in prevalence of 27.5% from 2011 to 2022. However, malaria still accounts for a considerable number of cases of deaths, with 52 globally, 5.2 million people diagnosed in 2022. And Ghana is among the 15 countries with the highest malaria burden globally. Earlier efforts led to the discovery of the first anti-malarial drug, quinine, and subsequently chloroquine and mefloquine. And these are derivatives of quinine. And then artemisinin, what we have now from Artemisia annua. Now, the development of malaria vaccines began in the 60s. This is about 50 years ago. And the RTSS is the most advanced malaria vaccine to date, produced by GlaxoSmithKline and the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. Researchers are working on other vaccines because it is always possible for the parasites to, when you think you have found it, it finds a way around it, an escape mechanism. And for this reason, it is still relevant that we continue to research into plants to find out whether we can find something so our people continue to live and we do not die. Plants continue to represent a prolific reservoir for the discovery and development of anti-malarial agents. So this research, in this one, we assessed the anti-malaria potential of 8 Ghanaian medicinal plants. So we have moringa, for the 8 plants, we have moringa, Morinda lucida, which is also known as conchroma, locally. I think this is a can. And then Pachyia clapetoniana, dawa, women use it to cook. And then Tabedemontana crassa, kakapimping, that is the 3rd one up there. And then we have Terminalia ivorensis. This is emery. I can't call it emery. And then we have the Baphia nitidia, also known as owono. And the Lepia multiflora, Stresununum. And then Cinnamomum silanicum, Anoaterudria. And then the last, Tricula africana, chen. So these are the results we found. So as I did explain, the lower the activity, the better. In the case of that means that it is good, it is high, it is promising. And you'll find that in 6 of them, the extract that we tested, the last is the positive control. In 6 of the extracts that we tested, the activities were all a single digit, which is saying that these extracts are very promising, very, very promising. 2 of them were quite weak. And we see also selectivity. See the T. avirensis, for instance, selectivity is over 200, which is very good. And the activity is less than 1. And then we also have the P. capetoniana. The activity, the selectivity is almost 200, 170 something, which is really very good. And so we are saying that these 8, the study has indicated strong antiplasmodial activity or action and high selectivity of Terminalia ivorensis Parkia, Clapetoniana, and Lepia multiflora extra. So these have shown very interesting activities. So we also report for the first time the anti-malarial activity of Parthia litidia and Tebenamontana and Crassa and Dracula africana. This is the first time that this has been reported. Our study is the first to have reported it. Further studies are underway to identify and characterize the bioactive agents in these extracts and how they work. This has also been published since. So research on safety of plant medicines. So we looked at the modulation or alteration of cytochrome P450 activity by plant medicines, and that is the safety work that we looked at. Now, what is cytochrome P450? Cytochrome P450s are enzymes. What are enzymes? So enzymes are like tiny machines in your body, okay? Tiny machines in your body that help the body to speed up processes, okay? So it helps the body to speed. For instance, you have a blender, and if you put something, it mixes it very quickly for you. Instead of using the mortar, that is slower, it mixes it very quickly for you. So in other words, they are catalysts. They speed up processes. But they are very specific, you know. So and they have specific things, substrates that they work on. And so just like you have a key and a lock. So if you have a lock, it fits a particular key. So if you have a substrate that doesn't fit it, you cannot open that door. So that is how these enzymes work. So we have cytochrome P450. This is an enzyme that is known to be very important for breaking down foreign substances that go into us, including drugs. Drugs are also foreign. They come from outside into us, okay? So cytochrome P450 enzymes, and they are a superfamily of enzymes responsible for metabolism of drugs. And lots of drugs have been removed from the market because of how they interact with this enzyme system. So it is very important. There are about 57 human cytochrome P450 enzymes, and only 15, just about 15 of them from 3 gene families are they do extensive drug or foreign substance breakdown, okay? Now, several drugs, like I said, have been removed from the market because of that, because they cause interactions, drug-drug interactions. But what is drug-drug interactions? Drug-drug interactions may occur when you take 2 drugs concurrently, 2 or more drugs concurrently, and one drug affects how the other drug works. So it may stop these little things that are working from working on the enzyme, so the drug remains more in your body for a longer time. It can be toxic, or it may cause it to work very quickly, and then the therapy may not work because it didn't stay long enough to do what it was supposed to do. So it can cause therapeutic failure and can also cause toxicity. And you can also have some benefits, but as toxicology, we are more concerned about what bad thing can it do, okay? So we investigate, we're looking at safety, we are looking at those aspects. The co-administration of herbal medicines with conventional drugs can also cause herb-drug interactions. In fact, you can have food-drug interactions, okay? So, for instance, you have foods like cruciferous vegetables. In my classes here, they know that. The vegetables like broccoli, that family, cabbage, that family, they are good. But if you are taking drugs like acetaminophen or paracetamol or things like that, and you take them with it, they interact with them, okay? They affect the way they work. And so it is important that we get to know the medicines that we have. How do they interact with these drugs that are important to metabolize drugs inside us? This is absolutely very, very important. Data on co-administration of herbal medicines and conventional drugs is sparse. We don't have a lot of data on that. However, the potential for herb-drug interactions is theoretically higher than that for drug-drug interactions, because the herbs is a mixture of many things. Drugs usually have one or two components, but herb is a mixture of many things. And so this is very important to investigate. Now, drug interactions could be beneficial also, as I said, or it could cause toxicity or therapeutic failure. So the aim of the study, therefore, was to determine in vivo. So we use animal system, rats, so that is in vivo. In vitro will mean that we are doing it in a test tube, but in vivo, in a system, human system or animal system. So we determine in vivo modulation or changes in the rat liver microsomal cytochrome P450 enzyme activity by anti-malarial, anti-HIV, anti-tuberculosis, plant medicines, and courtesy 3 herbal medicine centers. I didn't talk to them, so I wouldn't mention their name. These are big centers, very popular centers. So we went to them and we said, can you give us, we wanted to buy, they gave them to us for free, anti-malaria, anti-HIV, anti-tuberculosis drugs. So they gave those to us. And then we came and we worked with them. And these are our findings. We tested 3 of the important drug metabolizing CYPs, and this is what we found. Now, let me explain. The very first bar is the negative control. You haven't treated, you haven't put any, we just use what we call the vehicle. If it's water we use to dissolve the drug, we use water in it, so nothing has happened. That's the control, okay, the negative control. Usually we have a positive control. I haven't shown that here. So if you see a bar below the negative control, it's telling you that that extract at that point is stopping the action of the enzyme that is in red up there. If you see a bar going above the negative control, it means it is causing it to produce more of the enzyme, okay? So if you look carefully, you see that for CYP1A2, there are a couple of them that are gone very low, okay? A couple of them very low. And again, if you look at 2B6, that is the next one on my right, and probably on your left, you see that most of them have rather gone up. And if you see asterisk, it means it's quite significant statistically, okay? If you come to 2C9, unfortunately, everything dropped. It means that all the drugs inhibited CYP2C9. Unfortunately, CYP2C9 is associated with adverse drug effects, and so that is very crucial. And then CYP2D6 also, if you look at it, we see that they also go up a little bit, okay? So if it's something you are taking more and more and more, you can imagine that these bars could go lower or higher, you know, depending on how you take them. So most of the plant medicines significantly altered activities of rats' liver cytochrome P450. I am not saying that all plant medicines do that, but the ones that we collected, this was what we found, please. While some medicines strongly increased, some of them strongly increased the activities, as we saw, and all the plant medicines tested, as we saw, reduced CYP2C9 activity, which is related to adverse drug reactions. So generally, the medicines, we also looked at the effect on the liver, on the kidneys, on the hematology, hematological parameters, and I'm not reporting that here for time. I just select some things and present here. So generally, the medicines altered liver function in the rats, generally. And so most of the significant changes in biochemical and hematological parameters were found in 2 particular medicines. So the enzyme inhibition suggests the potential for herb-drug interactions. So on the other hand, increase in the activity also, as I said, therapeutic failure. So commonly used, these plants have the potential to cause herb-drug interactions, and therefore it's one to be very careful co-administering some of these herbal. Research has to be done before you want to co-administer. You should know about that, because so what we're saying is that co-administering some of these may not be helpful. So further studies are required to establish clinical relevance. We have done this in animals, and sometimes it is not the same extrapolating animal data to humans. This has also been published. Now, for pharmacogenetics of CYP enzymes in Ghana. So when we talk about what is this pharmacogenetics? So like I tell my students, what mama gave you, what daddy gave you. So these enzymes have, there are different forms of the enzyme. And we want to know in the Ghanaian population, Ewes, Gans, Fanti, do we all have the same form of enzyme to metabolize all the drugs that we have on the market? Do we know that? This is more towards personalized medicine. And so this was the focus of this work. So the aim of the work, and this was work done by one of my students in the Department of Biochemistry, Cell and Molecular Biology, Devin Delari Kodo. So the idea is that break it down for students is a big project, so break it down for students to take their very areas. If you are Ewe, you can do that for Ewe. If you are Gan, you can focus on the Gan. So he did that for Ewe. To determine the form of the enzymes, he took two of the enzymes, CYP2D6 and CYP3A4, drug metabolizing enzymes, among the Ewe ethnic group. What form do they have? Because there's a lot of knowledge on what the different forms can do. So first of all, you have to interview the people because you need a true and true Ewe. So the person should be Ewe, mother and father, grandparents, paternal, maternal, and so on. So that was done. And so you can see from the bars. Now the first one is PM. PM means poor metabolizers. So the genes. So which ones have the genes for poor metabolism of drugs? Okay. So these, the drugs that were looked at, the 2D6 and CYP3A4, drugs metabolized by these enzymes, okay? So he found that, this was what he found for the test. He actually screened 124 people, okay, subjects, and this was what he found. So you see here that the extensive metabolizers were much higher. Extensive metabolizers were much higher than all of the others. And then she took also controls, and these controls were coming from non-Ewe, but typical wherever they are coming from. You tried, you can do your best, but you never know where there's a link somewhere, but you try to do that. So he took from, if it's Akan and Ga and so on, so these controls. So for the controls, as you can see, the controls, you see that the frequency is much lower. The scale is different. The previous one, the scale was all the way to 100. It's quite different. And so you see the controls, it's a bit on the lower side. So what are we saying here? So what we're saying is that the study established the existence of allelic variants of 2D6 and 3A4 among the Ewe population. So he saw some differences. That is what he's saying. Amongst these, there were some differences in the frequency, comparing even with the control. The data was quite similar to what you see in the sub-Saharan Africa. It's not like out of the. But however, we are seeing that the differences may have pharmacological implications because this enzyme that he's seen, where he's seen going up, have implications for prostate cancer. And so further work has to be done to see, because now we need more. The number was too small, 124. So we need to do a larger population study to be able to establish that this is the trend in the Ewes, and therefore it has implications for prostate cancer. So let's look now at the challenges with integrating herbal medicines into the primary healthcare system in Ghana. There's lack of standardization. Very often, we are not saying a blanket, everything is bad. That's not what we are saying. But these are generally the challenges that we have. Dosage or dosages and concentrations of active ingredients of these products are often inconsistent. They may vary in potency, quality. These are raising concerns. There's lack of data usually on shelf life. Of almost all the products that you come across, you see that data on shelf life. And then regulatory hurdles also. many countries, herbal medicines are not subjected they are subjected to the regulatory standards. We try to avoid that by calling them dietary supplements and so on, just so that you can avoid and move on, and these are real challenges. So there's lack, of course, robust scientific research, and that's what we are trying to advocate, that let us do it all. Let us ensure that scientific research is properly done, so that medical practitioners, everybody will accept it, because we know that you want to bring it into the mainstream. But can we ensure that all that has been properly done? We ruled out all these things. Drug interactions, we know all of these things. We have tested, we have done the clinical trials, and we have done all of these things. Now, the herb-drug interactions that I talked about, these are things that we want to be careful looking into, since we care about our people. Some herbal products also cause some side effects, contraindications, and so on. These have to be investigated. Now, there's a study that showed that the liver and kidney function of medicinal plant users in southeast of Nigeria, and they found some of these things that were people who were taking their drugs chronically, and that was a challenge. And so this is more of a problem, especially when you are taking the thing chronically and you don't know much about it and you keep taking it. So we really need to find out more about some of these medicinal plants that we are taking. Now, self-medication is actually even a big problem, because you do it yourself, you just go and pluck and you keep taking it, you tell nobody about it, and you continue to take it, misuse, overuse, incorrect treatment, and so on. So note that orthodox medicines also kill people. Okay, people can die also taking orthodox medication. Of course, if you are antihypertensive and you're always checking for liver function and kidney function, it tells you something, right? It tells you that it's likely to hit these organs. And so they also have their issues. But what we are saying is that let's do a proper research and check on these things. There's lack of funding, which is a major challenge. Lack of funding, and the practitioners, some of them, they have not seen the huge monies that you are requiring for the regulatory things. So what can government do? What can stakeholders do? They have a good product. What can we do to support them? We all need their product. What can we do? Low level of education, yes. Some education is going on, we agree, but we should do more. We should do more. Neatness and everything, there should be some discipline in there. About 50% of herbal medicine products, out of 615 products analyzed in Mampong, that was 2021, were below standard, and that should concern us, yes. So another quality issue is the compromises the integrity, sometimes adding other things, adding drugs. Recently I heard of a case, the screened herbal medicine that was almost going for approval and regulatory things, and we found that it had been doped. They had put some drugs in there. That's also a big problem. Fortunately now we have all the systems to check that, and so that is also a major problem. Now the lack of standardization, poor harvesting, and so on, that is a problem. Aflatoxin gets moldy, that is a big problem. And so where do you store the things? So a lot of training, teaching has to go in to ensure the right things are done. We have a risk of extinction of some of these medicinal plants, a major challenge. And factors associated with extinction include overexploitation, overcollection, and so on. Galamsey is a big problem. It's a very big problem. And the threshold of some of these species, when it gets to a certain threshold, you will not get it back again. So you can forever lose some of these herbal plant medicines. But let's quickly look at the economic value of plant medicines before we leave. The overall economic value of medicinal plants, herbal medicines, cannot be discounted. Medicinal plants are a major source of income and livelihood, employing millions of people in the developing and industrialized countries. They contribute significantly to gross domestic products, and the largest markets are in China, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Britain, and United States. I wish we had Ghana in there. Now, these are the users, the countries and how they use it. US, as of 2012, WHO data showed that 42% of people in the US were using herbal medicines. In Australia, that was about 41%, in 40, I think it's 45, in France we have 40, in Canada 70, in Chile 71, in Colombia 40, in Africa put together, parts of Africa, that was about 80. So interest in ethnobotanical products is increasing in industrialized countries. Japan is the world's largest consumer of natural medicine per capita. And WHO estimates that by 2050, the trade will be up to 5 trillion. 5 trillion. Can Ghana benefit from this? Now, we have these figures also. I hope you can see a little bit. So the red bar is showing 68%. This 68% of this is coming from North America. North America, the market size is 68 billion US dollars. 68 billion, that is what North America is getting his market. Europe, so you can see 68 billion is going down. Now they are looking at, this was in 2022, and they are looking at 10 years, projecting 10 years, 2032, that by 2032, it should get all the way to about 180 billion, if you estimate that should be about 180 billion. And the rest are Europe, East Asia, Pacific, and the rest of the world. Probably Ghana is somewhere down there. The rest of the world. And so that is the trend. So the industrialized nations have come to overtake us, and there's so much they are reaping from plant medicines. And again, we see that so Africa's herbal medicine industry has the potential to compete globally. As I came out of my house one day, I saw so much, suddenly my eyes were open to all the plant medicines around me. I said, wow, how wealthy. You have plant medicines everywhere. Now, the economic value of trade, raw materials in South Africa is estimated to be 2.9 billion, and that is 165 million US dollars per year. The annual revenue from exports of medicinal plants in 2015 was 5.9 and 55.9 million and 174.2 million, respectively, in Morocco and Egypt. About 90% of herbal medicine traders in southern and central Malawi derive more than 50% of their household income from selling medicinal plants. So over 160 kilograms of herbal medicines are valued at 344,000 are marketed in Tanzania. So leading market actors are investing in research, and strategies for growing this area include collaborating with partners and so on. The herbal medicine industry must offer effective terms and expand and survive in more competitive rising the climate, even right here. Now let's look at Ghana. Now Ghana herbal medicine industry is a main source of employment of a large number of people. So about 951 tons of accrued herbal medicine, estimated at a total of 7.8 million, were traded in Ghana in 2010. Now, currently, the revenue is not known. I tried to get that, and I couldn't get it. Now, at the last Traditional Medicine Practitioners Week celebration, the president said that Ghana could generate 76 million annually with concerted efforts. Efforts have been made to develop, yes, plant medicines, as I said. Research has proven that several of these, so these are my concluding words. So, research has proven that several Ghanaian medicinal plants are efficacious and safe for use and can be marketed. Now, researchers require funds from government and other stakeholders to support the work on medicinal plants for significant economic impact. Now, other challenges associated with the plant medicines These all can be surmounted. You can surmount them with research, with training, with discipline, and with the right policies. Now, some recommendations. For significant economic impact, streams of funding must be invested into medicinal plant research and industry consistently. To avoid harmful herb-drug interactions, plant medicines must be tested for their potential before co-administering them with orthodox drugs. Pharmacovigilance of herbal medicines is critically important for developing reliable information on the efficacy and safety of herbal medicines. Traditional medicine practitioners and researchers must be educated on filing patents, because that is a way we can raise revenue, filing patents, and we also need support to do that. Many of us, we are getting a lot of education, but you need the money to move it forward. So as we educate us, we also need the funds to move it forward. To avoid the extinction of medicinal plants and overexploitation, uncontrolled deforestation and habitat destruction, all of these must be avoided. And the government must lead the efforts towards the production or the promotion and cultivation of medicinal plants facing extinction. And there must be policies to replace the harvested ones. When we harvest them, we have to replace them. All hands indeed must be on deck. Government, policymakers, regulatory bodies, the traditional medicine practitioners, academia, research institutions, other stakeholders, you and me, for significant generation of resources or revenue for the country. So boy, I wanted to say ye, because I want you to be part of it. We all have to work together, because if the foreign countries are getting revenue, why not we have it all over? Okay. So these are some key takeaway messages I have for you. Plant medicines have the potential to play an important role in the healthcare system in Ghana. Research is crucial in establishing safe and efficacious plant medicines. Traditional medicine practitioners must ensure that all plant medicines are properly evaluated for their safety, efficacy, and facilitate their acceptance into the healthcare system. Continuous training of traditional medicine practitioners is crucial in advancing this in the country, the industry. Now, plant medicine industry holds a substantial potential, not only for economic growth or poverty alleviation, but for youth employment. If we have huge plantations, our youth will have more money, I believe, than they would get from Galamsey, and they will be safer. They will not be dying. The University of Ghana, I'd say we all are sitting on a gold mine, because several research findings are on there on the shelf that can give us so much IP. So there is work for us to do. So here are my collaborators, as you see there, several departments in the university, we are working together. KNUST, UCC, of course, Noguchi, we are family. We have Center for Plant Medicine, UDS, you have UHAS, and Mayo, Yale, and Japanese partners. I am acknowledging a lot of people, and so you see that my slide is getting really loaded, but I didn't want to have two or more. So I will just call out a couple of people that I'm acknowledging. There are so many people who have impacted my life, and I would like to say a big thank you to all of you. Your name may not come up, but you know what you have done. And I want to say a big thank you. I salute you all. I have here Professor Nyakon, most of them my mentors, my supervisors, and so on, like lecturers and teachers. They have invested in our lives, and we cannot thank you enough. Professor Nyakon, Professor Lord Kenneth Okine, Professor David Ofori-Ejei, Professor Niayi Ankra, Professor Isi, Professor Kofi Budulai, Professor Samuel Sefadede, Professor Koram, Professor Michael Wilson, blessed memory. Professor Jang, also blessed memory. Professor George Amma, Professor Chris Labi, Professor Isaac Amponsa, Professor Dr. Alfred Uforia Jemang, Dr. Emmanuel Kumatia, Professor Nico Femolin, that was my supervisor, my PhD supervisor, wonderful. Professor Tommy Cheng, Yale. Professor Elisha Pinso, also at Yale. My teachers, my lecturers, I couldn't put your names here. You're wonderful, phenomenal. You have made me who I am. Noguchi staff, you are wonderful. Thank you. Department of Clinical Pathology, we work together, so we're doing all this together. Department of Biochemistry, we have worked together. School of Pharmacy, we have worked together. Department of Medical Pharmacology, Department of Chemistry. My pastors, so many of them, thank you, pastors. The prayer support, even before they would call you and pray with you, I can't thank you enough. My family, yes, the church family, friends, the media. I want to especially thank my husband. It's been wonderful. Kenneth, you're wonderful. We call him sweetheart. Yes. He's always encouraging you. When I said, okay, I don't really have to be a professor, I said, but you can be. Thank you very much. So I've been for you. Good. Thank you. You always supported me. I am so grateful. And thank you all very much for coming. Students, everyone, thank you all very much. I am so grateful. Sorry I'm not mentioning everybody's name, but I am so grateful to you all for being here. Those online, my siblings, you've been wonderful. Mommy, thank you for the sacrifices. I know you're watching me from home. Thank you very much. Really appreciate what you've done. Thank you, you and Daddy. Thank you very much. May God continue to bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Appiah-Opong, for drawing our attention to some of the common plants around us and their medicinal benefits, and also cautioning us on the possible herb-drug interactions and the need for proper research in the use of these herbs. I believe we have all learned a thing or two. So to aid us in processing all that we have heard this evening, I invite you to relax and enjoy an interlude from the Legon Interdenominational Church Choir. As you heard from the reading of the professor's profile, she is the presiding elder for the Legon Interdenominational Choir. So the choir is, Interdenominational Church, and so the choir is here today to support her as she marks a significant milestone in her academic career. So Legon Interdenominational Choir, the floor is yours.
Hello? Yawudim Yabeduni, Oh, King of Kings,
Lord of Lords, you're the greatest in the world. From the north to the south, you are God, there's no doubt. From the east to the west, oh my Lord, you're the best. I will lift up your name.
oh, King of Kings,
King of Kings, Lord of Lords, you're the greatest in the world. From the north to the south, you are God, there's no doubt. From the east to the west, oh my Lord, you're the best. I will lift up your name.
I will lift up,
I will lift up your name higher. I will lift up your name
great Jehovah,
Great Jehovah, you are wonderful. I will lift up your name.
I will lift up,
I will lift up your name higher. I will lift up your name
great
higher.
Jehovah,
Great Jehovah, you are wonderful. I will lift up your name.
oh, King of Kings,
King of Kings, Lord of Lords, you're the greatest in the world. From the north to the south, you are God, there's no doubt. From the east to the west, oh my Lord, you're the best. I will lift up your name.
I will lift up,
I will lift up your name higher. I will lift up your name higher. Great Jehovah, you are wonderful. I will lift up your name higher.
Nyamya bozi hure, Nyamya bozi,
Thank you very much for the musical interlude, Legon Interdenominational Church Choir. Most of you have already been acknowledged by our distinguished lecturer and our Vice Chancellor, but please permit me to acknowledge a few more dignitaries in our presence. We have with us Emeritus Professor Ivanadai Mensah, our former Vice Chancellor. We also have Professor John Japon, former Pro-Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Development, and former Vice Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. We have Very Reverend Dr. and Mrs. Maxwell Ayi from the Methodist Church. Very Reverend Dr. and Mrs. John Abedu Kwashi, Trinity United Church. Reverend J.D. and Mrs. Kumsen, LIC. Reverend I and Mrs. Beidu, also from LIC. It's now time to make some presentations to our distinguished lecturer. And to start, we have the College of Health Sciences making a presentation to our distinguished lecturer. Please welcome them with a round of applause. Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research under the College of Health Sciences, and where our distinguished lecturer is coming from, should also get ready. Our next presentation will be from the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, and also WACBIP. Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, and WACBIP. Health Sciences Investigations and Journal Editorial Committee, please get ready. Health Sciences Investigations Journal Editorial Committee, please get ready. Do we have the Health Sciences Investigations Journal Editorial Committee? (1983 to 85 year group of the St. Louis Senior Secondary School, St. Louis Secondary School, 1983 to 85 year group. kindly ask LIC Council of Elders, kindly make your presentation. LIC Council of Elders. Please welcome them with some applause. We have the Shalom Bible Study Group on. Please get ready. Shalom Bible School, Legon. Shalom Bible School, Bible Study Group, sorry. Department of Clinical Pathology. Department of Clinical Pathology. South Legon Area Fellowship. Please get ready. South Legon Area Fellowship. South Legon Area Fellowship. Please get ready to make your presentation. South Legon Area Fellowship. Please encourage them as they walk upstage. Last but not least, we have the family of Professor Appiah-Opong. The family of Professor Appiah-Opong. Thank you all very much for your presentations. Thank you. We'll take a few more acknowledgements. We have in our midst Emerita Professor Isabella Kwachi, President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Also in our midst, the COP Daniel Ameyao, Professor Victor Ajiman, We have some of our deans and directors here, our college registrars, and all of you, our distinguished guests. You are warmly welcome once again. It's now time to receive closing remarks, and so I shall call on our chairperson and vice chancellor, Professor Regina Appiah-Opong, to deliver her closing remarks. Please welcome her with some applause.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, it's been a riveting evening as we listened to Professor Regina Appiah-Opong deliver brilliantly on her chosen topic, the potential role of medicinal plants in Ghana's healthcare system and economy. It is therefore not out of order for me to ask you to once again to join me to applaud this outstanding scholar. Prof, we are very proud of you. I'm sure if you came here tonight thinking that herbal medicine is all about boiling leaves and hoping for the best, now you know a lot better. After this thrilling lecture, I can confidently say that plant medicine is not just a home remedy, it's a research discipline, a commercial opportunity, a regulatory headache, and a potential national treasure. This evening's lecture was infused with adequate data, contextual history, sufficient chemistry, and just the right dose of pharmacogenetics to keep us all alert, even for us, the linguists. Now, let me share with you a few lessons that I picked from both the lecture and her life, very 5 short ones. The first one is that not all are created equal. Some have healing properties, others may be harmful. Even for those with healing properties, you have to ensure that you are taking them for the appropriate condition, as we saw from her research regarding the various kinds of cancers. And you also have to make sure that you are taking this with the other herbal drugs that are compatible, or even conventional drugs that are compatible. We now know that my grandmother says it works is not enough, and that we need the lab tests, the clinical trials, and the shelf life data, because even leaves expire. The lesson 2, for me, is learning a lot more about the cytochrome P40, and that it's an enzyme which would make the difference between curing your headache or you getting worse. And thanks to Professor Regina Appiah-Opong and her colleagues and students, we now know a lot more about how our genetic diversity affects the way we metabolize drugs. I never thought that, belonging to one ethnic group or the other may have a certain effect on how you metabolize drugs. So apparently in pharmacology, one size does not fit all. Lesson 3 is that the global plant medicine market is booming. $437 billion USD by 2032. And Ghana is nowhere to be found. We are categorized with the rest of the world, somewhere in there. Nonetheless, Professor Regina Appiah-Opong has made it clear to all of us that we do have the biodiversity, the traditional knowledge, and the scientific expertise. And so if we put our acts together, we can make this a booming business for our economy while we are healing ourselves. What we need is a little more structure and perhaps more believers in FDA approvals. Now, my last two lessons are from her life. Learning that you can start life dreaming to be a lawyer, start out as an English teacher in Tafu Kumasi, to a patent-holding toxicologist, collaborating with people all over the world, from Yale to Tokyo. Now, this is not magic. It's hard work, it's persistence, diligence, excellence, and in her case, a healthy dose of Christ-centered determination. The final lesson for me is that if you thought that scientists live in only labs, then you are wrong. It is possible to combine being a scientist with being a swimmer, being a Sunday school teacher, a grandmother, and a presiding elder, and do also very beautifully. Prof, I don't know the plant extract that you are taking, but I would like to have some. Of course, after the proper FDA testing and approval. Tonight, we've not only celebrated science, we have celebrated one of our best, a woman with intellect and humility, a scholar and a mentor, a public servant who is proving that knowledge from the laboratory can transform lives in the community. Professor Appiah-Opong, thank you for reminding us that Ghana's future in global health innovation may very well lie in our forests, our traditions, and all the plants that we have around us. So I would say to our distinguished lecturer this evening that may your next herbal compound be commercialized, your next student be inspired, and your next collaboration result in more patents. Indeed, we have the systems and the structures here at our Research and Innovation Directorate to support patenting and matters of intellectual property. Thank you for ending our inaugural lecture series for this academic year on such a high note. And now, thanks to all of you for joining us together to celebrate this woman of science and distinction. I look forward to you joining us again when we resume our next lecture series for the next session. Thank you. May God bless you, and do have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chancellor. As the Vice Chancellor has already said, we look forward to receiving you in all our other events. And so kindly turn with me to the back page of the brochure where we have our upcoming events. You are all welcome to join us for our magnificent annual music concert, our College of Health Sciences 25th anniversary lecture, and also for the speech day for our basic school. Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Madam Joyce Nyakwa Avebedo and Mr. Emmanuel Kwesiabuaje, our team from the Center for Disability and Advocacy Studies, who provided the sign language interpretation for this evening's event. Thank you. So for the order of refreshments, after the event, all our invited guests will move to the north wing on my left-hand side for your refreshments, whilst our students will be refreshed at the forecourts of the Great Hall. we kindly ask that the platform party after the university anthem will recess before all of us will follow. So please take note. Please also take note that our lecturer will be hosted on research agenda on our campus radio station on Wednesday, 6th of August at 8 a.m. on 105.7. So kindly mark your calendars and tune in to listen to her. I believe more of your questions will be answered since we don't have the platform to ask questions during the lecture. So please remember to tune in. Please rise for, thank you all very much for joining us this evening. And as we've already said, we look forward to seeing you again in all our other events. Kindly rise for the university anthem. Thank you very much. Please remain standing as the platform party recesses. Thank you all very much once again, and we hope to see you again in our coming events.